God, I don't know how to say this without sounding ungrateful. I know I'm still breathing. I know I still wake up. But I feel forgotten, like I slipped through something and no one noticed. I pray, and it feels like my words just stop halfway. Did I do something wrong? Or did you just move on while I was trying to keep up?
I hear you. I hear the way your voice keeps lowering, not because you don't care, but because you're tired of saying the same thing and not seeing anything change. You are not speaking into nothing. Your words do not disappear just because you don't feel an answer. You feel forgotten because so much has happened quietly. Losses no one clapped for. Waiting no one validated. Pain that didn't look dramatic enough for others to stop and ask questions. When suffering is loud, it gets attention. Yours has been quiet, steady, and long. That kind of pain can make anyone feel invisible. You're asking if you did something wrong. I need you to hear this clearly. Your pain is not a punishment. Your exhaustion is not evidence of failure. You didn't miss a secret step or break some rule that made me turn away. What you're feeling is what happens when a human heart carries more than it expected to carry for too long. You've been strong in ways no one taught you how to be. You kept going because stopping felt dangerous. You showed up when you were empty. You learned how to look fine because explaining the truth took too much energy. That kind of survival can slowly convince you that you're alone, even when you aren't. I know it feels like I've been silent. But silence doesn't always mean absence. Sometimes it means I'm staying closer than words would allow. If I filled every moment with explanations, you would never rest. If I answered every question immediately, you would never learn how deeply you're already held. You want to know why it feels like others move forward while you stay stuck. Why doors seem to open for them and not for you. Why your effort hasn't matched the outcome. Comparison has been quietly hurting you, even when you tell yourself you don't care. It's hard not to measure your life when you're already questioning your worth. Listen to me carefully. Your life is not behind. It's layered. There are things forming in you that could not happen in a rush. You don't see them yet because they aren't loud. They are slow, internal, and deeply human. You feel forgotten because you expected me to show up in relief. But sometimes I show up in endurance. Sometimes I don't remove the weight right away because I'm teaching you how to breathe under it without losing yourself. Not because I enjoy your pain. Not because I'm distant. But because the version of you that emerges from this season needs a strength that comfort alone could not build. You haven't been abandoned in your waiting. I've been watching the small moments you thought didn't matter. The nights you went to bed disappointed but still hoped a little. The mornings you woke up heavy and still tried. The prayers you didn't finish because your throat closed up. Those count. They matter more than you think. You ask if I moved on. I don't move on from people. I don't forget faces. I don't misplace hearts. You are not an afterthought I failed to circle back to. My child, I know how alone this feels. I know the fear that whispers, maybe this is just how life will be. I know the quiet grief of realizing you've changed and not knowing if anyone noticed. I am not asking you to pretend you're okay. I am not asking you to be grateful for pain. I am simply asking you to stay honest with me. You don't need better words. You don't need stronger faith. You don't need to convince me of your worth. You're already allowed to be here, exactly as you are, confused, tired, unsure. There are things I haven't shown you yet, not because they don't exist, but because you're still learning how to stand without breaking. And I know you're afraid that if nothing changes soon, something inside you might give out. I know that fear is real. I'm not ignoring it. You're not forgotten. You're in the middle of something unfinished. And unfinished things always feel lonely, because you can't explain them yet. You don't have language for what's forming. You only feel the weight of it. Stay here with me a little longer. Not because everything is about to resolve, but because you don't have to carry this moment alone. I am closer than the silence suggests. And there is more to this story than what you can see right now. You keep waiting for a sign that proves you matter. Something clear. Something unmistakable. But I see how tired you are of needing proof. You've been scanning your life for evidence that you're seen. A message that doesn't come. An opportunity that passes you by. Someone else being chosen again. Each time, it quietly reinforces the thought you don't say out loud. Maybe I'm not important enough to be remembered. That thought didn't start with me. It started with moments where you needed someone and they weren't there. Times you showed up fully and were met with half-hearted responses. Promises that faded. People who moved on faster than you could. Those experiences taught your nervous system something before your mind ever caught up. They taught you to expect absence. So when I don't speak the way you hope, your old wounds fill in the gaps. They tell you silence means rejection. Delay means disinterest. Waiting means you were overlooked. But those voices are shaped by pain, not truth. I haven't forgotten you in the way people forget. I haven't been distracted or overwhelmed. I haven't misplaced your life among others that seemed louder or more impressive. You are not competing for my attention. What you're really grieving is the version of life you thought you'd have by now. You imagined stability, clarity, maybe even joy coming sooner. You pictured yourself standing somewhere different, feeling more secure in who you are. And when reality didn't follow that timeline, it began to feel personal. I know how much effort you've put in. I know how often you've tried to do the right thing even when you were discouraged. I know how many times you adjusted yourself to fit, hoping that would finally make something work. It's painful to feel like none of that was noticed. But I've been paying attention to what effort alone couldn't show. To the ways you've grown more gentle because you know what it feels like to be dismissed. To how you hesitate before opening up now, not because you don't care, but because you've learned caution the hard way. Those changes didn't happen by accident. You ask why I don't intervene sooner. Why I let things stretch this far. Why relief feels delayed past what seems reasonable. There isn't one simple answer. But part of it is this: you are learning to separate your worth from outcomes. Right now, your sense of being remembered feels tied to visible results. To progress you can point to. To reassurance you can hold. Without those, everything feels fragile. I'm not ignoring that fragility. I'm strengthening what supports it. If I removed the ache without addressing the belief underneath, the ache would return the next time life went quiet. If I rushed you into something new without grounding you first, you would still feel forgotten the moment it required patience again. This work goes deeper than circumstances. You've been surviving on the edge of hope and disappointment for a long time. That wears a person down. It makes rest feel unsafe. It makes joy feel temporary. It makes you brace yourself even during calm moments, waiting for the next letdown. I see that tension in you. The way you never fully exhale. The way you question good moments, wondering how long they'll last. That's not weakness. That's the residue of waiting too long for reassurance. I want you to know something uncomfortable but honest. Feeling forgotten has shaped you, but it doesn't define you. It has made you observant, careful, deeply empathetic. But it has also made you doubt yourself more than necessary. It has taught you to minimize your needs. To ask quietly. To expect little. I don't want you shrinking to survive. I don't want you convincing yourself that being low maintenance is the same as being worthy. You don't have to disappear to be kept. My child, I know you've wondered if you're asking for too much. If your longing is excessive. If your desire to be seen is somehow selfish. It isn't. Wanting to be remembered is a human need, not a flaw. There are seasons when being held doesn't feel like comfort. It feels like restraint. Like being paused when you want movement. But even restraint has a purpose when the ground ahead isn't stable yet. You are not stuck because you are incapable. You are paused because something in you is still healing. And I won't push you forward before you're ready to stand there without losing yourself. I know the fear that says, what if nothing changes? That fear visits you late at night, when distractions are gone. It tells you this might be permanent. That you might always feel slightly out of place. I'm not offended by that fear. I want you to bring it to me instead of letting it speak alone. You don't need to force optimism. You don't need to convince yourself of a future you can't imagine yet. For now, it's enough to stay present. To let yourself be seen here, even if the rest of the world feels distant. You are remembered in ways you can't measure yet. In quiet alignments. In protection you didn't notice. In growth that doesn't photograph well. Your life is not empty of meaning just because it feels unseen. This story is still unfolding. Not toward perfection, but toward honesty. Not toward constant happiness, but toward a deeper sense of belonging. And we are not finished yet. There is a tenderness in you now that didn't exist before. It came from being overlooked and still choosing not to harden completely. You don't always recognize it as strength because it doesn't look like confidence. It looks like hesitation. It looks like careful hope. But it is strength all the same. You're learning how to sit with unanswered questions without abandoning yourself. That's not small. That's not wasted time. Most people distract themselves from that kind of discomfort. You stayed. Even when staying hurt. I know you worry that this season has taken too much from you. That it has drained your energy, your optimism, your sense of direction. You wonder if you'll ever feel like yourself again, or if this quieter, heavier version is permanent. You're allowed to grieve the parts of you that feel distant now. Grief doesn't mean you're broken. It means you cared. You haven't lost your ability to feel joy. It's just resting. Pulled back to protect itself while you learned how to survive disappointment. Joy doesn't disappear when life gets hard. It waits for safety. And safety takes time to rebuild. You don't need to rush that process. You don't need to perform healing for anyone. Not for me. Not for the people watching your life from the outside. Healing that lasts is quiet. It unfolds without announcements. I know there are days when you feel like you're living on the margins. Like everyone else has a place, a rhythm, a direction, and you're just hovering nearby. That feeling can make you question your purpose. But purpose isn't always active. Sometimes it's formative. Right now, you're learning discernment. You're learning who you can trust with your heart. You're learning when to speak and when to stay silent. You're learning the difference between loneliness and solitude. Those lessons don't come from being constantly surrounded or celebrated. You've asked if I see you when no one else does. I do. Not in a distant, abstract way. In the small details you think don't count. The way you replay conversations, wondering if you said too much or too little. The way you hold back tears in public and release them only when you're alone. The way you keep showing kindness even when you feel empty. I haven't missed any of that. And I'm not disappointed in you for feeling weary. Weariness is not a lack of faith. It's a sign that you've been carrying weight without enough rest. You don't have to prove your endurance to me. You don't have to earn my attention by suffering quietly. You're already here. You're already seen. My child, there is a gentleness in how I'm holding your life right now. Not because you're fragile beyond repair, but because you've been strong for too long without support. This isn't about testing you. It's about tending to you. There will be moments ahead where you feel more like yourself again. They won't arrive all at once. They'll come in small returns. A laugh that surprises you. A sense of ease that lasts a little longer than before. A connection that feels steady instead of draining. You don't need to chase those moments. Let them come when they're ready. You don't need to fear being forgotten anymore, even if the feeling still visits. Feelings aren't instructions. They're signals. And this one is telling you how deeply you long to belong. That longing doesn't disqualify you. It connects you. You are allowed to take up space in this world, even quietly. You are allowed to exist without constant progress. You are allowed to be unfinished. I won't rush you out of this place. I won't leave you alone in it either. We'll move forward when moving forward makes sense. Until then, you can rest your weight here. Not everything has to be understood tonight. Not every fear needs an answer. For now, it's enough to know this. You are not forgotten. You are becoming.